Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello.
Hello. So this week, I think we're going to continue on with our, what do we call it, ramped up click pitch.
Yeah, I think you called it ramped up.
Yeah, so for those who are just joining us this week who may not have listened before, welcome to episode 92, for one. And click pitch is a game where we usually each have let me do that again. Click pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3 to 1 click, we click refresh, and usually in the past we've got one word, but this week, for the second time, instead of a single noun or adjective, we're each getting an adjective, noun, phrase. And I think this week, because last week we sort of took each of those words as separate words, I think maybe this week we should try to make sure that the adjective actually applies to the noun that we each get. So it is more using that phrase just to sort of limit that scope a little bit. If it doesn't work out and we can't make that work, then we'll, go a bit further afield. But
yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Let's try to get like an awesome game that we just want to keep on talking about right at the end again last week.
Last week. We just go for an extra half hour and yeah, sounds good. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's do it. Click. Playable gumdrop.
Easier poisoning.
Those are good phrases. So, I mean, obviously, at least one of your characters is a gumdrop.
Yep.
Now, I guess are we thinking like a candy gumdrop sort of thing? Is that what a gumdrop? Is that the only thing that a gumdrop is? Are there other words?
Okay.
Hey, Wikipedia.
I'm going to take it a little bit out of left field or something.
All right.
What quite frequently is in a gum tree?
Yeah.
None other than a drop bear. So it's a playable drop bear.
Okay. You didn't want to be candy.
No.
That's fine. I'm happy with
because I'm just
drop
thinking about
based gameplay.
Mellow drops. When I think gum drops, I'm like, I need to get away from that.
Our friend John Kane, his game.
John, previous guest of the show.
Gritfish is his handle. Go check him out.
Especially check out like all his awesome games. Killing Time at Lightspeed was.
I still haven't played that. I mean, I've been meaning to.
Quite a fun game.
It's on the phone now, I think, so I should.
Yes,
I should get it.
I helped test that.
Oh yes. Okay. Playable drop bears. I like that. Now, as we all know, because we have to be aware of it at all times in this great land of ours, drop bears are poisonous.
Definitely.
Or,
are they poisonous or are they venomous? So if you lick them, do you get
you got poison. So you got the word poison. So actually, they have to be poisonous, which
so just
makes
lick them.
makes it slightly more interesting. Yeah, but that's the thing. They like launch at you and try to shove themselves into your mouth. Yeah. Yep. Well, and also it could just be that. Oh no, I guess that's still venom if it gets into your blood. Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Maybe it's.
What happens if
maybe they expel a poisonous gas of some sort.
I was thinking, what happens if like they were able to squirt venom, but like squirt it into someone's face, and then it's literally the fact that it goes into their mouth, like they ingest the poison because the venom is also poisonous.
So a bit of a like Dilophosaurus kind of situation. Okay. I like this. All right. So this is a game where you play a drop bear, and maybe it's through an upgrade path that you get to like choose the different sorts of things that this drop bear has. So I don't know if it's like a nuclear mutated drop bear that is growing new parts to more effectively kill.
I like that. It's giving me a bit of a Mad Max sort of vibe.
Sure.
So I'm
thinking
not so much
Australian
the
as well?
desert side of things, but the
no, because they require trees for all the dropping.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking that it's just after it sort of happened. You get the first lot of mutations, and there's still lots of trees sort of around because it hasn't gone completely dry. just yet.
Oh yeah. Well, it's maybe just a minor nuclear event. All right, where?
A mini Chernobyl, as it were.
Yeah, a shinobi.
Okay, so
A
this is the back.
A Chernobylit.
This is the backstory. The Liberal governments have decided to put in, a
coal-powered nuclear.
People realize that
station.
Okay, you don't want coal, you don't want nuclear. Well, guess what? We're going the lesser of two evils, nuclear. So they build it, and they build it badly because they do what they normally do and choose the cheapest supplier possible. And they get a mini Chernobyl, also known as a mini Sydney.
Is that because that's where they put it?
Yeah, they put it in Sydney.
Of course they put it in Sydney because they're all fucking Sydney-siders. Right, so Sydney's gone. So it's the Sydney the wastelands of Sydney, and you play Drop Bear. So are we saying in this world that Drop Bears are mutated koalas, or is it just that Drop Bears were one of the only living animals that were hardy enough to survive the nuclear
only
fallout?
Living animals that survived, but also happened to get mutation powers out of it. So
yeah.
They're now, they've got an upgrade path of what they can sort of get depending on how much radiation they sort of end up getting.
Yeah. Well, and so then they're sort of feeding on radiated beings. So, all right, let's talk the gameplay. I mean, I've been playing a ton of Spider-Man this week. And so,
hasn't everyone?
I'm not saying that he's got any sort of webs, though maybe there's some sort of
upgrade path that you get webs.
Upgrade path, maybe not webs, but some sort of movement, but easier movement. Maybe I like the idea of jumping, like doing nice big jumps from tree to tree.
A Drop Bear doing parkour.
I'm not thinking like full on boom 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 parkour. I'm thinking like you're holding onto the tree and you can sort of. You hold down the left trigger and you move the, you move the thumbstick and you've got like an arc that's going to be the arc of your jump. And
okay, so
that's how you also attack people. But
when you said hold down the left trigger, I'm thinking, okay, so what? It's Assassin's Creed now? Isn't that just parkour?
No. I didn't mean to move. I meant like to aim where your jump is going to go.
Then I was literally thinking, how awesome would it be to stalk people through like the tops of the trees?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. So you're like. But you can't just, it's not sort of as smooth a movement as parkour or even Spider-Man going through. It's sort of, you have to time and aim each jump. Because, you're still a fucking koala-shaped creature. You're not this super dexterous, agile thing.
Yeah, so I think you can survive on eucalyptus leaves. In fact, eucalyptus leaves are how you sort of get back some of your health points. Mm-hmm. But I think what your goal is for each of these things is to avoid the hoop snakes and
the hooper snakes?
No, the hoop snakes. You know what?
Yeah.
The hoop snakes.
I know. They like bite their own tail and roll.
Yeah, they roll
like a hoop. Yeah.
And then so they have to
and
drop
in fact, one of there's like because this is obviously a bit open world and you've got all your little tasks, and one of the tasks is you have to do your jumps through like a hoop snake habitat where you have to actually jump through the hoop snakes, like their hoops.
Yeah,
and
it's all about getting the combo. So if you can on every jump,
get them lined up. Yeah,
and they're sort of just rolling back and forward. Well, one of them happens to get into a half pipe, and
Well, that's it. If they go into a dust bowl or something, like they can't really get out of it very easily. They get stuck, like turtles getting stuck on their back. Hoop snakes get stuck in a curve. So obviously you're going to be attacking humans though. Like, what are humans left in this world?
I think they're scavenging for gasoline.
Okay. So it is very Mad Max.
It's very Mad Max in that, they've got like the open topped sort of cars, and that's perfect for you because if they drop into the back seat.
I love the idea. Yeah, I love that idea of like, even more challenging timing obviously is doing your jump and landing in the fucking seat of a car on someone's head and shoving your poisonous fist down their throat to watch them slowly die.
Make him lick that fur.
Lick that fur. Lick it.
So I think this is early on in the Mad Max days, in that, everyone hasn't sort of transitioned to leather and all that sort of stuff yet.
Yeah, and it's not the sort of whole patois speaking. Is that the right word? I don't know. But you know what I mean. Like the different dialect and stuff. I think it's a bit more recent after the actual event.
So people are still wearing jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And like some people have radiation suits and things because it's a fucking fallout zone.
And that protects them a little while against the poison. But not against the venom.
That's an extra challenge. That's an extra challenge because, like the noble platypus, one of the one of the upgrade paths is the spur on your feet, and you use that to tear them out of their radiation suits.
I've got to say, platypuses are no fucking joke. They're fucking scary as all fuck.
I think DLC, or unlockable character, platypus.
Yeah.
It's got all the same moves, but instead of a koala-based being, it's a platypus-based being.
Like,
maybe it's just all... Well, I mean, the platypus isn't this, but maybe it's just all marsupials. You can just you can choose a type of marsupial.
Well, I mean,
would a platypus be called a drop? Would it be a drop puss?
Well, what I was thinking is like, you can also like collect some inventory and stick it in your pouch. I kind of like that idea. I kind of like that idea a lot. You get one inventory slot, and
unless you decide to mutate yourself a second pouch.
Exactly, upgrade paths. Okay, 3, 2, 1, click. It's a pretty awesome game.
That's
actually.
a good one. I like it. Oh god. I don't know if we can use this one. You go first.
Intimate clause.
Oh, God. That works perfectly. Sexed custody. SEXED. So something that has been sexed. Custody.
Ooh.
But intimate clause works well. Like there's some sort of law-based something around somebody who's had sex with something or someone.
Well... And I saw the word clause, and I immediately went to Tim Allen in The Santa Claus.
This is the porno version.
No, I'm picturing
of the Santa Claus.
This is like the unseen
the Santa
part
whores.
4. This is the unseen part 4, in which
the unseen.
The unseen part 4.
What's the unseen? Well, the Unseen. I thought you were saying that there was some franchise called The Unseen, and this is the 4th part. You're saying this is the Santa Claus part 4 that nobody has seen.
That has not been seen, so therefore it is unseen. But it exists. So, but it exists in game form.
Wait. Or you play a game where you play Tim Allen, and it's all about not letting the Santa Claus part 4 get released because it was too intimate and sexy.
So I'm thinking,
you're just brushing right over that because I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty cool. Let me just explain where I was going first, and then you can decide.
Then I can just throw it away and go in my idea. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. So I was thinking, in part 4, what was actually happening is Mrs. Claus caught Tim Allen, or caught Santa, sexting with like his ex-wife. And so she's suing for custody of their now kids, which are elves. So it's just a huge legal battle around like Mrs. Claus and the kids.
All right. I do like that, and I think it comes down to because in every movie there's like some sort of fine print that it sort of pushes the story along. So in the Santa contract. In the fine print.
So the finer print than the part that they found in the Santa Claus part 2 and the part in part 3.
I don't think I ever saw part 3. It had like Jack Frost or something.
Yeah, it did.
I don't know. But in the finer print, there's what's known as the intimate clause, which is exactly that. If Santa like breaks the fidelity of his marriage to Mrs. Claus
from part 2, yep.
Then she takes over the whole operation.
So the Mrs. Claus becomes...
she becomes the first female Santa.
First female Santa.
It's about time.
Why can't we have female Santa? Why does, Santa Claus need to be male?
Well, that's it. What happens if a woman kills a Santa?
Ooh. Ooh, now I'm picking up for like part 5.
Yeah, that's true.
She goes on a murderous rampage.
No. I think
Mrs. Claus kills Santa and becomes Santa with a beard and everything.
Maybe what happens then is, okay, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's not that Mrs. Claus inherits everything. Maybe what happens is that this is the case where Tim Allen's Santa dies and is killed by a woman. And maybe no, this is getting. I'm not sure this should be the thing because it's a little bit distasteful. No, but what I was going to say is maybe because then does that mean that this woman is now married to the current Mrs. Claus?
No, because
and then maybe the intimate
previous
Claus.
Mrs. Claus. This is the dark thing. This is the dark secret about the Santa Claus.
Oh.
When Santa died, Mrs. Claus wasn't at the North Pole when in the first movie.
Does she
disappears?
Flicker out of existence?
That's fucking dark.
All right. Look, there's definitely a game here. We've got to find it.
Yep.
Which of those ideas appeals to you the most to actually sort of write a story or a game about?
I do kind of like the idea of the intimate clause being like the part 4 in which, Santa and Mrs. Claus, there's actually a clause that they have to be intimate at least like once a year or something like that.
Right. Okay.
To keep the magic going.
The Santa magic.
Or the marriage magic.
Both, obviously. Yeah, it's a metaphor.
How else do they get new elves?
Oh, God. Does she just have a litter?
Yep.
This is going in a direction that is turning me on. No. All right, but still, a game. What sort of game is this going to be? Because I definitely like some Santa action of having to fly around a bit, deliver some presents.
Oh, definitely.
That'd be fun.
And sext while he's doing it. With Mrs.
Well,
Claus.
so maybe it starts off. Maybe the very first scene is it's Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
You're halfway through your deliveries, and so you get a little taste of fun zooming around gameplay in your sled. You've got to land it.
You got to feed the reindeer. You got to get in, deliver the presents. Yeah, I'm liking this.
Yeah.
You got to be very careful on the roofs because if you do die,
well, that's it. Like, make sure that nobody sees you or hears you and comes out and surprises you because you're not very light on your feet.
Cool. Cool.
But this whole time, after a few of those, you get a text message on your Santa phone.
Is it from your ex-wife?
Yes, exactly. And she's like, "Hey, big boy."
She accidentally sent it to...
Hey, big red boy.
No, did she purposely send it to you?
Oh, I think this is something that's been going on for a little while now. It's just we're coming in media res as it is.
I like that you used in media res. I was just thinking...
I was impressed with myself. I wasn't gonna flag it, but now you have. So thank you. It sounds much smarter if I don't congratulate myself. Yes,
Cut it out so that you don't congratulate me on congratulating you. Or just leave this whole conversation
and in media res and yes, so this is something that's been going on, and basically when you get back to the North Pole, then that's when Mrs. Claus comes out and she's like, "I'm invoking the intimate clause. We haven't had sex in a year, and also you're sexting with your ex-wife, and we can come up with some really good sexts that are all filled with Santa-based innuendo."
Oh yeah.
Not right now.
Just pretend that we did and go.
Something about beards and bellies and red suits and bells.
Laugh so hard that he shook like a bowl
full
of jelly.
He shook me like a bowl full of jelly last night, baby. Ring my bells. I've got bells in all sorts of places.
Something about Rudolph.
Oh, God. Rudolph's nose isn't all that's going to be red after I get done with you. They're into spanking.
God.
What was the fucking husband's name? We'll just call him Judge Reinhold. Yeah, Judge Reinhold he's also there. Because it's a bit of an intervention.
He's a cuck.
Oh, God. I mean, technically, yes. But that term is not... He has been cuckolded, it's true. And to be honest, he's sort of into it, but he knows that he should be.
No, he's not right into it. That's the whole thing.
But he's not confident enough in himself and his kinks to really, like, lean into that. So he's pushing those feelings down and he's going along with this intervention with Mrs. Claus. Did she have a name? I don't even remember the movie. Who played Mrs. Claus?
It was the chick from Lost who played
Kate?
No. The
thought...
other that came in like season 3 and 4.
Oh, yeah. Wait, Elizabeth? No, yeah, Elizabeth Mitchell. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. So did she have a name? Oh, Carol. All right. Principal Carol Newman. Okay, Carol. So her name's Carol. Yeah. So she's there. Judge is there. Neil. His name's Neil. Neil is there, and they're like
in the room.
What?
In the corner of the room, in a rocking chair.
Oh, what the fuck? With a blanket over him? That's moving surreptitiously? No, what I was going to say is like, oh God, this is going way too long for this opening scene.
No.
Basically, they confront you, they know what's been going on, and they kick you out as being Santa. So, who do you play? Are you playing as Santa trying to, like, get back? Because I feel like that's actually not a good protagonist.
No, I don't think it is.
Do you end up playing as Mrs. Claus and she takes over? Like, is it her taking over the Santa operation?
I think in the prelude that you play Santa. Just in the prologue. And then once the prologue is done, then the real game starts and yes, you play Santa.
Well, because that's a great way to, it's that classic game thing of you start off with everything, right? With all your powers, with all your tools, and then you start playing Mrs. Claus and she's never done this before. So she's a blank slate.
Yeah.
So again, upgrade parts, baby.
You're going for custody of the elves because of these
You're going for custody of the elves because of the sexting. And as you get, but like, because of the way the law works, each elf is a separate case, so you don't get them all at once. It's not like all in one go.
So there's different side missions that you got to do to win the elves over to your side.
Yeah, but they become a resource then, right? It's like, it's side missions. Cause I'm thinking this is, and again, I've been playing a lot of Spider-Man. This is like open world Santa game. With all these side missions and stuff, and as you get more and more elves, they can develop you better and better tools. Like Mrs. Claus is way more into gadgets, and like she's like, we can do this better. We can, we're still living in the fucking dark ages of Santa Clausing.
She's thinking, why is Christmas only one day a year?
Yeah, yes, yeah. That's what you start building up to.
Like. She's literally thinking, if we ran this smoother, we could actually do this 2 times a year. If
we automate this, we can be doing this 2, 3, 10 times a year. Like every month, first of every month is Christmas. If I've got enough elves, they're all making...
The 25th of every month. Every month has the 25th.
That's true. 25th of every month, Christmas. It's the Christmas of March. It's the Christmas of April. We'll destroy Halloween. We'll destroy...
Valentine's Day.
The other ones, Easter, gone. Fuck Easter.
But the awesome thing is, in Australia, they celebrate both Christmas and Anzac Day. That's awesome. It's just awesome.
Oh, okay. They don't get rid of it. Is that what you're saying? You can't.
They don't get rid of Anzac Day because it's like, no, they need to celebrate this day.
They need to celebrate those delicious cookies. Yeah, but no, I like the idea then that as you kind of destroy each other holiday, there's like a boss fight against the Easter Bunny or Cupid or a fucking Thanksgiving turkey.
But what you didn't realize about the Easter Bunny is that because it's based off of like the moon is like a secret like sub-boss.
Second boss. It's like the final form.
Yeah, so the Easter Bunny is actually just like a
projection of the moon.
A projection of the moon.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that a lot. But yeah, at the same time, as you bring more and more elves, as you get custody of more and more elves, they're like doing research for you. They're building tools. You've got present guns. You've got zip lines, so you don't have to land every time. It becomes, have you seen Arthur Christmas?
No.
It's very good.
I really should. I mean, I've got a kid and it's a kid's movie.
I can't believe you haven't seen that. You've got a fucking 6-year-old.
This Christmas? Maybe not. Maybe next Christmas.
maybe September's Christmas.
Okay, yep, September's Christmas. So I can do next year. Have you got anything more? Or is that it for this one?
I could probably do this all night, but no, I like that. Just, open world, Mrs. Claus, Santa game, get into custody of your elves who then become, research development for you, automating the Santa thing, taking over the other. I love it.
Yeah. Love it.
3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click.
Tiniest exaltation.
Supernatural fancy.
Oh. All right. So, exaltation is like joy sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, so, I'm thinking either 2 things for tiniest. Beer or a knight in armor.
Okay.
And that then supernatural fancy is around, maybe it's like a ghost that possesses suits of armor.
Oh, I was actually thinking it was...
Just for the fashion of it.
I was actually thinking it was actually... because you said knight, I'm like, ooh, what if he's come back from like the Crusades or something like that, and his partner or whatever passed away from some disease at the time, but wanted to stick around so much that they became like a ghost.
Okay,
so it's now about the knight going on a quest to try and figure out if there's a way to bring back his partner.
All right, I like that. Now bear with me. It's a VR game.
Okay. Yep.
Where the ghost of your partner takes over your non-dominant arm.
Oh, so in other words, you only use...
which you get to choose, obviously, but you use either your right or your left arm.
Yeah, so you basically, you pick up the right Oculus Touch or the left Oculus Touch.
Yeah.
And hit the A button with that one, and that's your Oculus Touch.
That's your arm. Now, there may be something you can do with the other around, like, selecting things or looking around or something. I'm not sure. Well, not looking around, obviously, but, like...
Camera control.
Well, that's your head, obviously. But, like, around selecting, or interface stuff.
Yep.
But, yeah, you've only got control of one arm, and so... it's this game where you're going around and you have to, like, stop your other arm from doing shit that you don't want it to do. Like, you have to grab it.
Stealing apples. No, that's a no-no.
Well, maybe it depends on what, like, direction you want to go down. And so there's almost a bit of and this sounds wrong to say about something that's possessed by a sentient being, but, like, a training sort of thing based on, I'm almost thinking a bit of, like, Black and White, where you can, like, smack it and it learns that you don't want it to steal things. And you can, like, caress it and it feels good about that. I don't think we should get into the possibility that you can get jerked off by your dead partner in your left hand. I wasn't going to. No, I was just saying that we can't do that. Don't go there.
What I was thinking is, if you happen to train your arm upright, it becomes a full-on killing machine.
Oh, totally. It's like that fucking Rick and Morty episode. Maybe that's it. Maybe it can change. Like, if you use it for, hitting people, attacking people, it just starts getting real buff, and you've just got this one buff left arm. As you power it up, it's like a level 73 arm in attacking. Okay,
so I'm imagining there's going to be scenes in which you're talking to the ghost that inhabits your arm. And I'm thinking it
depends.
Well, I'm thinking what happens is, you finish like a level or something like that where, the left arm's, going hell for leather, is dismembering every single Black Knight that's in there, because it turns out that the Black Knight is the thing that actually killed you.
Let's make it a Red Knight.
A Red Knight.
Yeah. Okay. I just feel like Black's overdone for bad guys.
Yeah, true.
I mean, Red is pretty overdone too, but it's a bit different in that sort of context. So yeah,
the Red Knights. A long way from home.
goes.
Doesn't quite work. But I think you can have almost like a Legend of Zelda. Hey, whatever
God.
her name is.
It just slaps you in the face.
Yeah, so you can have like conversations with your
Or
partner.
actually, I love that idea that you're like in the middle of something and your hand wants to talk to you, so it just starts waving in front of your face, in front of your eyes. Or like, and if you ignore it, it just like covers your eyes.
Punches you.
Well, I think it's like you need to find some paper and a pen so it can actually communicate to you. Like it can do basic, gestures to give you an idea. And I love that idea actually of, like making it your, like your guide. Like it's like, where's my next mission objective? And sometimes some games will give you a thing on screen or whatever. It just points. Yeah, it just points. It's like that way. It's like, oh, cool. Gives you thumbs up when you do good things well. Yeah, I really like.
It gives you a thumbs down if you don't kill.
Yeah, if it's not happy with it. Yeah. I really like that idea, actually. That's really cool. And then, yeah, you can like, and then you've got different armors and stuff. Because why not?
So I'm just wondering if, like, the final scene that you sort of see is your girlfriend or partner comes back, and then you see that old guy from Pet Sematary and goes, "Sometimes dead is better." I was thinking, just like, if you've seen Pet Sematary or read it, it's like sometimes dead is better. What comes back is not not the same.
Yeah, it was just a weird pull. No, well, but I like the idea that you do get your partner back, and you somehow figure out how to manifest them again into a body. But then your arm is just like limp and like you don't get control of your arm back, and all the power goes out of it. So it's just like skinny, and all the muscles are gone. And so then when you like turn your, I'm doing it, so you can probably hear it. When you turn your head, your shoulders kind of move with it a bit, and you can kind of slap yourself in the face with it, like it's like completely dead. You look in a mirror and you can just like move it around with some nice ragdoll physics.
You can pick it up and drop it.
Yeah, you can like pick it up and drop it, stretch it a bit. It's a little bit stretchy. But that's at the end of the game. I love the idea that it's like, yep, game over. Now here you are alone with your loose arm. With your loose arm.
I like the idea that you've fallen asleep and the camera zooms in on the dead arm that's sort of sitting on top of your body, and like the pinky moves, and then it cuts to black.
Like, oh, there's someone else in there.
Yeah,
it's your cat. 3, 2, 1, click. Yeah. Ensuing immunization.
Fulfilled tradition.
Okay. I'm getting the touch of a zombie game here, but I don't want to make it too much of the traditional zombie story.
Okay.
So what was yours? Something
fulfilled tradition.
Fulfilled tradition. So something starts some sort of, maybe not a zombie game, maybe like an outbreak kind of situation, where there's a horrible plague that is let loose because of someone finds documents that like they think it's going to do something great to fulfill this tradition of this ancient civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is like opens the tomb, and yeah, they find riches and ancient burial or whatever, but it also lets loose a deadly virus. And so it's all about sort of the race to find the vaccine.
So are you seeing it sort of like a Tomb Raider style of like action adventure?
Not as
puzzles?
Well. I was maybe thinking a bit more of kind of an LA noir in a way, like sort of an adventure with not so much detective sort of work, but I think you're trying to gather together your team of people who need to beat this thing,
mm-hmm.
of the different scientists and that one cop who, I don't know, comes on and helps you because they save you at some point. And maybe they're the love interest. I don't know. I'm more thinking of the story here than the gameplay, I guess. So I guess it's a narrative thing.
Yep.
Look, it could even just be, It could even be closer to something like those virus games, like not Pandemic.
Plague Inc. or
Yeah, like Plague Inc. and stuff, but with more story. And it's not like you play one game and it takes 10 minutes. It's sort of like it's over a longer period of time. But the choices you make, affect how this thing spreads. And so maybe there's like multiple endings and almost a bit of a graphic novel crossed with a Plague Inc. sort of situation.
So I'm sort of seeing it sort of similar to, have you seen the movie Son of Sam? Or Summer of Sam, I think it was.
I actually haven't, no.
Had like John Leguizamo and a few other people. Basically, it was set. The backdrop was that it happened during this whole thing happens during the Son of Sam murders that happened in the United States in like 1970s.
Yeah.
And it's just a group of people who start like suspecting one of their friends is actually the person.
They're like,
but,
yeah.
But it was like the entire thing was just like, just hysteria around it. I kind of like the idea that, you hear news reports about this stuff going on.
Right.
And you see, some remnants of people being sick, and you're just going about like a sort
just
of a
jump
daily
to conclusions to
daily life, but you start suspecting that, your neighbor down the hall is actually, involved, and he worked for this lab that, where this outbreak happened.
Right.
And
so what you're saying is that, is there not actually an outbreak?
I think there's an outbreak, but I think it's like you start thinking that this guy that lives down the hall,
because I actually kind of like
is
that
like
idea.
patient zero.
I actually kind of like that idea of a twist then of, so it is more about you're sort of an average citizen, but you start putting together this posse basically of like vigilante scientists who are convinced that there's a government conspiracy to cover this outbreak up, and they're like gathering evidence but just totally misinterpreting it. But the player doesn't know that yet. Like the player thinks this is legit and that you're just a scrappy bunch of scientists who are like uncovering the truth. And I love the idea of the twist of like, no, you are all just, you haven't looked at the evidence properly. You're jumping to conclusions. There's no actual, like there was a minor outbreak there was a release of a strain of flu, but like it's no more viral than any other strain of flu. And it was contained quickly.
Oh, it's kind of like that Ebola, scare that happened a few years ago and that sort of stuff. In that, yeah, there was some people that made it through the quarantine and, then had to do quarantine.
Well,
here
that's it. I think there was a quarantine of this lab, but like, that's just something they have to do. It was mostly contained. They discovered all the patients. There have been no more reports of it, and it's sort of a closed case. But it's sort of this like stirring up people in this little town to believe that there's a cover up and there's a conspiracy. I actually really like the sort of story that could tell about fucking people and conspiracies and the way that they can,
and just the way that they go. Hang on, didn't Bill down the road used to? Like, doesn't he have like a shirt that has this lab on it? And
well, hey, like that whole family just disappeared without a trace, and like it turns out they just moved away and didn't like you very much, so they didn't say goodbye.
but they sneak into their house to try and find stuff.
Yeah, they like totally start breaking in and stuff, and but what I also like is this is how movies and games work. Like, so many movies and games would have this story and have it be totally legit, and they do find out there's a conspiracy. I love this idea that it's more of a story around. No, usually there's not a conspiracy, and you're just reading way too much into things because you're on the internet too much.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like
you're in a game, and you're expecting it to do that. So that's the way it goes.
Exactly. So that would be a fucking fantastic twist to that.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. And yeah, I guess it's just then sort of a classic kind of third-person sort of
or
adventure game-ish,
game,
adventure game-ish sort of thing with some, where you put in some stealth elements, put in some, maybe some basic kind of combat mini games when you punch a police officer because he's trying to stop you from breaking into your neighbor's house. or like a lab and stealing. I don't know. Or like, maybe the big twist is at the end is through your reckless actions you cause an actual outbreak of a really dangerous disease.
Because you go in and free like they've got some caged animals
like
in
the
there,
test
and you think,
monkeys
we've got to free them. It's like, yeah, there's a reason why they were caged up. Because
and
they got infected with this thing and we were studying them. And it's transmissible to humans, so...
Yep.
There's 12 monkeys.
And so they... no, I think it's... They released the goanna flu. For some reason, it just affects goannas. 3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click. Varying winding.
Cuffed evangelism.
Hmm.
Varying winding is kind of strange, but...
What I'm seeing is almost a sort of supernatural game. Mm-hmm. In that you've inherited this clock from your dead relative, and by varying the amount of time in between winding it, because one of the things that actually it came with it is saying it must be wound up every single day.
Okay. So depending on like the time of day that you wind it?
Yeah, so varying that winding schedule actually has some negative consequences in the way of either some sort of time travel, something that seems good, but turns out is really, really bad.
Okay. Do you also then there has to be some sort of church leader or something then, or who is arrested, or into S&M? Or gets hit across the back of the head.
Well, who's to say that?
Or all three.
The relative that you got this clock off was a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And when you went over to pick up the clock, you noticed some handcuffs, on the bed, and you just thought, "Oh, okay, he's a bit creepy."
That's the only way you want to bring that in.
I don't know. I really like this idea of the mystical clock. That
okay. Well, maybe it's
I think,
that. Maybe
I think the previous owner being a part of the Vatican or something like that.
Well, I think they
adds
were
a bit to it.
The head of one of these mega churches, and they tell you that part of the reason they got so successful is because of this clock. But they've just been sent to prison because, of course, these mega churches are a huge fucking scam, and they were taking people's money and
got caught in prison and then got killed in jail, and that's why you're inheriting it.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be that he's given it to you since he's in jail and has no use for it anymore, or maybe he wants you to try to get him out or something.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of see this as like a thriller or a sort of a horror-ish story in that you sort of.
I think there are you could have some really great scenes where, if it's something around time travel or time control, I'd love to see a time travel based horror game. I feel a horror movie or horror game. Yeah. I feel like it must have been done, but yeah, the idea of going back and the horror of changing something that is going to have a horrible outcome. And it's going to kill someone you love or create some chain reaction that, harms lots of people.
Yeah, I sort of see...
And having no control over it.
Something that happens early on, you go back in time as part of an early mission or something like that, and whatever you try to do, it just turns out bad.
Yeah.
And it's stuff is set in place no matter what you try and do. It's sort of, this is the way that it's going to end up. And there's... you sort of get that feeling of helplessness with it.
Yeah, and I'm picturing kind of a Heavy Rain style thing almost. Not necessarily with the sort of mundane tasks that you end up doing with that, but just that sort of narrative with some branching stuff, but it's mostly linear.
Yep.
And so you can make some choices when you go back in time, and you'll see some effects of them later on.
But they're so minor that they don't...
Well, they're not... Yeah, it doesn't change the course of the story overall. Because I think it'd be good for the player to have obviously some level of control, or feel like they do. But yeah, it always turns out bad. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, if you don't wind the clock, what's stopping you from just never winding the clock?
Have you just been told that something even worse will happen or something, and you don't want to risk it?
Yep. And I think one day, maybe you're coming home from work late, and you get involved in a car crash or something like that, and you end up in the hospital in a coma.
Okay.
And when you come to,
Yeah.
it's been 6 months or something like that.
And
the
everyone else is frozen.
The clock hasn't been wound for that long.
Yeah.
And maybe, everything's frozen, or it seems to be frozen, but there's something sort of out there. I don't know. I kind of like this idea of this clock is actually the world clock.
Like connected to the world clock in some way. And because you are the owner of it or have had contact with it, you're not as affected.
No, you're not affected because
you're
actually
winder
part
of the
part
clock.
of an ancient, like you're part of like the guardian of the clock. It's basically you personally are connected to it through the fact that your family for generations have looked after this clock.
Okay.
It's a bloodline sort of thing.
I do love the idea of waking up and, I mean, I guess it depends what it affects. Because I like the idea that you've woken up and every person has been frozen in their same place for 6 months and you recognize that. But like, maybe the grass has kept growing and like, maybe it only affects people in some way. Ooh. Or maybe it's like an area-based thing where there are lots of these people around the world and it's all for different parts of the world or something. I don't know. I just like that idea of waking up to this like eerie hospital with all these people who are frozen exactly where they were, or almost exactly where they were. Like you could put some good signs in there from the scenes you see, before your coma to this 6 months later, and you recognize that, like for these people only an hour has passed or something.
But that last sort of hour, as the clock was getting slower and slower and slower, caused like untold amounts of damage or something like that.
Yeah, that could be cool. So I also like the idea that this happens sort of, end of the first act. This is sort of where you're finding out about who you are, and because maybe you wake up in amongst all these frozen people, but you keep seeing glimpses of someone moving.
You know what I want? Your eyes open, and there's literally like a nurse, like
like
was
shining
checking your temperature or something like that, and they're still stuck there, and like they're frozen right in front of your face.
Frozen with a thermometer right up your anus. Yeah. No, but what I was going to say is, like end of the first act is when this sort of happens, and then you find this person and they become a bit of a mentor to you because they're sort of aware of your history and who you are, and maybe they're one of them too. Maybe they're someone who's disgraced or something, and you're not sure of their motives. But I like the idea that coming into the climax of the whole game, there's a choice you have to make, and maybe this does lead to different endings, well, it probably would, of whether or not to wind the clock.
Or just destroy it.
Or just like let the world stop moving forward in time.
Well,
and I guess you'd be
maybe
alone.
as we sort of can allude to that, human beings are affected by this clock, but other animals and maybe machines themselves aren't actually affected by it. So it could be that it's something to do with the whole human race, and if you just destroy the clock, like you're just in a permanently almost the end of Futurama sort of thing. That they're stuck in a moment.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I like the idea of stuck in a moment. I don't think it's destroying the clock because I like it much better that it's forever going to be a temptation to you. Yeah. I think what it is maybe time has frozen right before someone you love is about to get killed or something is going to happen to them, and you know that if you wind this clock, you're going to have to see them die. But if you don't wind it, they'll be frozen there forever. But so will the rest of the human race. And so it could be a really sort of heavy decision to have the player make.
Lots of cool narrative things that we can do with that.
Yeah, I really like that ending of you could totally just choose to live this horrible, sad life pining over this person you love who's like frozen in time with, I don't know, a bullet 6 inches from their head. But the rest of the human race is done, like, or you.
Rather than 6 inches from their head, I think it's just entered. Like, it's just, like, it's got to the point where it's actually just,
right.
You see the splinters sort of coming out.
I guess you want to make sure that there's literally no way they can
no way out.
Change anything. I mean, maybe there's some rule around they have to be in the same place they were when they wind the clock.
But the other thing that I like the idea of? That this clock also like keeping it wound traps other sort of beings within in like a certain frozen state if it's kept wound. But you
I mean, it could have other sort of features. That's not the right word. Other effects that you can employ.
Yeah. So the opposite actually happens in that by not winding the clock now, you've unleashed a terror that no one is actually aware of because you're the only one who can actually move, but they're literally...
Oh, God. And then the sequel is you, like, continually running away from these demonic creatures amongst this world of frozen people.
Oh, that'd be creepy.
That's like I love a really cool idea. Oh, man. All right. Let's leave it on that. Should we do one more?
Yeah, one more.
Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1, click.
Grand woman.
Okay. Auspicious pacemaker. Now, auspicious means like favorable, giving or being a sign of future success, or prosperous sort of thing. So I guess an auspicious pacemaker would be something that brings someone luck or prosperity. And grand woman?
Yes.
Maybe it's about a grandmother?
That's what I was thinking. And I was thinking that...
There aren't enough stories about grandmothers.
Ooh.
Is it a
narrative story? Again,
yeah.
I know that we keep on doing this.
I don't know. I think it should be a Bayonetta style beat 'em up where you play a grandmother
who's just had a pacemaker installed, and it's an auspicious occasion because she now gets to go to her granddaughter's wedding.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were yes-anding my Bayonetta idea. Okay.
Oh, I haven't got to the fact that that on the way to the wedding, like she's full on going through like massive boss fights and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. All right. What sort of world is this then that this grandmother, like, cause that's fine. I love this idea. She's going to a wedding that she was, she's been stuck in her house because she's had a bad heart for years. She's finally got a pacemaker, which means she can get around and kick some ass.
Yeah. So I'm thinking in this particular world that, technology is, only for the rich. So,
okay.
In other words, she couldn't actually afford this pacemaker.
Okay.
And
so America in 2018. Yep.
Yeah, well, it could easily be set then, and so she's been kept away from heartache and all this sort of stuff, and has been told all this stuff, and I just think the idea of having to go through like the next couple of months leading up to the wedding, and sort of experiencing new things for the first time.
This is the serious side of the game.
Yeah, I kind of like it being serious, but then there can be scenes in her head where she's just sort of walking down the street in the mall, stops to smell the flowers, and then like
okay, no, I like that idea. A bit of magical realism.
Yeah,
where you get to okay.
She daydreams a lot.
She's been stuck in the house for all this time. Oh, that's why, because she's been isolated for a very long time.
She used to be a fantasy writer.
Her whole family was worried about her heart, and so they've kind of kept her isolated and encased in a bit of a bubble. And she's finally raised the money or whatever. The insurance has come through. They finally got a decent president who brought in universal healthcare, and she got a pacemaker. And so now, she's out there, slowly moving around with her cane until ninjas attack and she has to beat the shit out of them. But it's all in it. It's a daydream sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you there's a nice juxtaposition of, her living out sort of taking joy in the final years of her life and imagining her sort of inner world of being a superhero of sorts.
So I'm imagining that she's going through and sort of experiencing almost like her granddaughter comes to her and says, the florist isn't able to get the flowers that I really want. And so she always dreams about, what she's going to do, go down there and like talk to the florist to try and get this to happen. And they send her on like a side quest to destroy like bandits that have come in. Well,
it's like the flowers can only be found on the shoulder of the Titan who lives, in the mountain range.
Yeah, and then you do like a Shadow of the Colossus sort of thing.
Yeah, you gotta like, exactly. I love the idea of, and this would be really hard to do if you do it the way I'm thinking, but I love the idea of at the end of the game, you get scenes of all of these things happening, but from the granddaughter's perspective, where it's just the grandmother kind of just being a grandmother, right? But she's telling these grand tales and like acting them out and stuff, but it's the things you did in the game. So like, I mean, you could do that in a way, but I was kind of thinking it would be cool if it actually like mirrored some of the things you chose to do as a player, right?
Oh, I'm picturing that they're going to the wedding, which is on this island. They've got to catch a ferry across, and they're on the ferry, and then all of a sudden pirates just board, and it's sort of
totally,
like a swashbuckling affair of, her grabbing the cane and pulling the sword out of it. And,
yes, totally. In the end, she like steals the captain's hat. She's just wearing this fucking awesome pirate hat.
Has a parrot on her shoulder that just lands there, and it's like, and then she shakes out of it, and it's like they've arrived at the island.
But she did steal someone's hat.
But I like the idea that, the reason for these things are, I don't know, her wanting to live her life and her, wanting to relive these sort of adventures that she may have had. I think
she feel like she missed out on so much life because, I think she spent multiple decades in this isolated place. She was diagnosed with this thing at 50 years old or something, and she's now in her late 70s, early 80s. And she's spent the last few decades, her partner's died, she's been alone, her kids come and visit, but not often enough, and they sort of, she has been too unwell, or they've made sure, like, they've been too worried about her to let her kind of live her life. So yeah, she's again, it's this magical realism thing. She's fallen into, she's using that she's used that over the years to kind of make her life more interesting.
Well, what she used to be was a fantasy writer.
I like that background too. Or maybe she's been writing these books as the whole time. Like that's something maybe she became a fantasy writer at 55 because she was stuck in the house and she was able to let her her imagination run away. But now she's out and the things have combined and she can't turn it off. But yeah, it could be this really heartwarming story. And I can kind of picture it. I can picture the in-between scenes where you are kind of just walking a little bit slowly and, sort of the family scenes and stuff. And then it breaks out into this awesome set piece where you're fucking this agile old lady kicking ass.
And it's the exact same model too, like, 3D model.
Oh yeah, no, she doesn't change. No, she just
the only thing that changes is the actual animations that she can all of a sudden start running and
yeah.
I'm picturing her like sort of hunched over a little bit, but like when
these
things happen, she sort of straightens up and
that could be really a nice little
gone and
it could be a nice little subtle change. I like that.
Oh yeah, and just I'm picturing her sort of cracking her neck as she sort of like stands up tall, like to her full 5 foot
and she's got all these awesome one-liners. As the pirates come on board, and she's just like, there'll be no shivering of timbers today. I don't know. I'm not good at one-liners. The writers can come up with that cool stuff, but
something about a Werther's original.
I'm the original. Fuck off, Werther's. I'm the original.
This is for my grandmother. This just I remember. I was like, ooh, that one's gonna need some Rollies salve.
Some Rollies salve? Is that a brand?
Yeah. So it was like this. God. It was this stuff in a tin that was just like a antiseptic salve that you just put on like scrapes and stuff. And she used to have it all the time. You can still get it. Like you can buy it from the markets. It probably does fuck all, but it's like, I just like the idea of her calling that out. It's like, what the fuck is Rollies? Like the guy getting a bit confused and gets taken out.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's really cool. I'll play shit out of that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we might finish it up there. On that grand note.
Ha ha ha.
So, if you want to find us on the internet, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we're Bitstormcast on all of those. That's how you can find us. We are on Podchaser, where you can also find our Facebook group and our YouTube page. That's the best way to get to those links. So that's at podchaser.com/bitchstorm. That's at podchaser.com/bitstorm.
We do have a website, which you can also find from that Podchaser link.
There's everything. You can find everything from that page. It's awesome. Amazing. The people who made that should be commended.
Except for, like, their CTO was just a creepy old man. He likes...
Sexy, though.
Sexy. Yeah, but he says weird things like, Santa Claus, you're so sexy.
Well, I mean, the right Santa Claus.
Yeah. Okay. If you use Apple devices, we are on iTunes, where we'd like it if you could rate, review, and even subscribe to us there. Like to plug our friends at the AGPN, the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just search for #AGPN on Twitter or the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. Finally, we'd like to thank Crudust for the song Man Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
Yes, that's all of them.
Yes,
so,
it is.
I was trying to think of an ending. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
Watch out for the drop bears.